Stephen J., founder of Reclaim Your Time, and in my business, I often talk about saving you, in some cases, over 20 hours per week in the amount of time we spend doom scrolling. But there are actually many other reasons why I started this business and many other concerns I have about the way we currently use technology today. The one I'd like to talk to you about right now is external validation. You're probably thinking, what does this have to do with anything? Well, there are two kind of mechanisms in which we can receive validation, receive the validation about who we are fundamentally as a person and about what we're pursuing, internally and externally. And the truth is, we probably do need a balance of both, and there's evolutionary reasons why. One of my concerns about using social media quite frequently, in particular, is that it's reinforcing a need for external validation. External validation is, of course, in the pre-social media era, meant a lot of, this person telling you you're doing a good job. As a child, your parents telling you a good job. But also things like, your peers telling you they like you, even getting your paper published and everything. Social media put that into hyperdrive with particularly the like and reshare buttons. And when you open up your email or open up your app and get that notification that someone reshared your post or a whole bunch of people liked it, whatever number that you determined means that this was a successful share, you get a little dopamine hit in your head, but you're also training yourself to look for that external validation, that number of likes, that person saying that nice comment. And since we have smartphones and social media now, the ability to seek out external validation is now kind of an ever-presence everywhere in our lives. The problem with, of course, external validation is that if we become too dependent on it, we sometimes end up dependent on something that's a little bit more fickle. What I mean by that is that internal validation is always there for us, and it's something that we can always take solace in within ourselves if we know within ourselves that what we're doing is valid, who we are is valid. If you become too dependent on external validation, what happens is that as soon as anything in the world happens where something cuts you off of that external validation, say a couple of your friends move out of town or just have a couple of days off, or one of your relationships changes, or something happens at your job, whatever that form is, all of a sudden you're not getting that same external validation, and that could actually cause your sense of self to really sway in the winds quite a bit. The other problem with depending too much on external validation is that it causes a lot of people to sway from who they really authentically are in order to seek out that external validation. So say deep down in your heart one way is true, yet you want to act a certain different way so that your peers accept you. A famous experiment is done where they brought 6 people into a room to ask, which one of these lines is longer. And when 4 actors were hired to tell people the wrong answer, a surprisingly high number of people conformed to that wrong answer in order to be validated by the rest of the group. Now, of course, in this particular experiment, we objectively know that this answer was wrong, but oftentimes we'll start talking in a way where we're supporting something that we personally know is wrong just to get externally validated. And that can cause a lot of problems that are longer than the scope of this video of what happens when we lose our connection to self. I encourage people to, form a more intentional relationship with the internet and cut down on the amount of time you spend particularly on social media, for a variety of reasons, in particular the amount of time that we tend to lose. But one of the other major factors, there's a bunch of major factors, but another major issue here is that it is training our minds to seek out external validation, and it's training us to look for someone else to tell us that we're right, someone else to tell us that we're valid, as opposed to knowing it deep inside within ourselves. I'm Stephen J., once again with Reclaim Your Time, and please check out my website, lessscreentime.com, if you have any questions or inquiries about different ways you can go about cutting down on this amount of time we spend in front of screens of all kinds and reducing our dependence on attention-grabbing technology.